because of the pandemic, this is a tournament layout and format like we've never really seen before, right? Everyone is in Indy, so all 64 teams are in one location, something we've never had. The quarantine is there. Obviously, we don't have full arena, so it's percentage-wise, 20%, 25%. So the layout is different. The atmosphere is different. The layout and the buzz, if you will, is all different. And I figured, honestly, because that is almost I thought, at least personally, that would favor the better teams because it's almost just pure basketball, right? There's no frills of traveling to where if you're a 2 seed, but you get a bad draw, you're going across the country. Sometimes we've seen lower seeds, just depending on how the draw goes, where you'll have teams like, I remember a few years ago, South Carolina, when they beat Duke, I believe it was on their Final Four run, they were playing almost a home game, if you will. So despite the fact that Duke was the higher seed, the way the seeding went out and the way the bracket went out, you have South Carolina in the second round playing almost a home game, just a few miles from campus. So sometimes there are some weird tournament quirks where the lower seed will actually have an advantage based on location, based on, the travel and et cetera. But I figured because now everything is neutral, because everyone is in one spot, because even with the lesser arenas and less fans in the building, I thought that would give the better teams an advantage because we've seen it too on TV, right? How many times do these smaller schools get out to maybe a hot start or they're playing a close game against someone they have no business being in the game with? And what happens? Especially those early days when you have 4 games in one arena, right? You'll have plenty of fans that are from all over, plenty of fans that are rooting for all different teams. So if your team's not playing, but you have a ticket to go to the game, you're gonna start rooting for the underdog just because, hey, I love seeing upset, right? We always love seeing David beat Goliath. So all of a sudden now, sometimes you'll get almost a home court advantage feel for the underdog because it's like there's a ton of neutral fans in the building. They all want to see the upset. So they're all of a sudden now, you have a raucous atmosphere for the 14th seed or the 12th seed or the 11th seed. And it gives them advantage. But I figured because you won't have that, right? Obviously, the buildings are not sold out. Because everyone travel-wise is in the same area. So there's no cross-country flights. There's no playing in a different location, a different time zone. Everything is the same. Everything is neutral. I figured that would give the better teams an advantage because now it's just basketball. And when you play just basketball, even though it is college where it's still unpredictable and not like the pros, I figured the better team would win. And it feels like so far watching the first 3 days, obviously it's been the total opposite, but it feels like almost the neutrality, the lack of, or the less sold out buildings, so lack of energy, if you will, compared to a normal sold out arena. It looks like it has so far favored these lower seeds. The less energy in the building almost seems to help the underdog. Because think about it too. A lot of these teams, Abilene Christian is a 14 seed, right? Oral Roberts is a 15 seed. Not that they're used to playing in front of nobody, but you don't need any extra motivation to get up, right? So you don't need a raucous or an electric atmosphere to kind of get you even more fired up when you're playing Ohio State, or when you're playing Texas, right? You're playing Texas. You're playing Ohio State if you're Oral Roberts. You are going to be fired up. You're going to be focused and ready to go. And when we're talking about college kids and college basketball, not everyone is always dialed in. Not everyone, even though it is a tournament per se, I promise you, if we took a random poll of Ohio State's team, were they taking Oral Roberts seriously? Were they fully locked in? I'd probably say no. So now when you're going into a building that 20% capacity, 25% capacity, even though your fans, still have some fans in the building, it's deader than normal. There's not that energy, that electricity that you would feel with the tournament vibe going. So, it's easy to come out sluggish, maybe overlook your opponent, maybe just assume, all right, we got this in the bag. Let's already start focusing to our second round opponent. Or maybe let's start looking ahead. Who can we maybe meet up with the Sweet 16 or Elite 8? And the underdogs have taken advantage of that thinking, of maybe the lack of juice in the building, of maybe just assuming that, hey, we got this in the bag if you're a Texas, if you're a Ohio State. And these teams are taking advantage, and it's been impressive to watch, and it's been fun to watch. And also, too, let's not forget, this is a bubble environment here in Indy. We saw with the NBA bubble, teams reacted differently. Look at a team like the Miami Heat. They embraced the bubble. They almost seem to be enjoying just basketball, go back to home, basketball, hotel room. That's it. Guys like Jimmy Butler and the Heat were almost galvanized by the lack of distractions, where it is basketball, basketball, and more basketball. And we see teams like them thrive. Teams like the Bucks falter.